We're good? Okay, good evening. Welcome to our special city council meeting tonight. This is an exciting night. One we've never been through. I've never been through something. You guys, Jackie, even in her years, has never been through something like this. So we had to look through a lot of state policy and procedures and code on this stuff. So thank you for bearing with us this week, those of you that have applied as we've gone through this process. So we're just going to start right into this. I'll just kind of lay out the evening. I will say we're going to cap this at an hour. We're going to just hard stop this at an hour. We've got it's end of school stuff. We all know there's end of school stuff going on. So we're going to cap this at an hour tops. So we're going to give each of you basically 5 minutes to kind of introduce yourselves, tell us why you feel like you're qualified for this, and then we may follow up with some questions, we may not, but we want to keep everyone to about 10 minutes total. So we're out of here in about 40 minutes, then we can start deliberating and see where we go from there, so we can wrap this up by 6:30. The way we put you in orders, we did it based on how the state would lay out if you were on a ballot together. So there's certain things they do it. So if you were on a ballot, the four of you, that's how the order we did this. So we didn't want to do alphabetical because that always, so we just did it the way that the state would do it. So this is how we're going to go. This is the order tonight. We're going to start with Ethan Woodcox, and then Tara, and then Lauren Smith, and then Steve Perry. So that'll be the order tonight. So you'll have 5 minutes, and then we can follow up with questions. This is live. This is being recorded. This is a public meeting. This process needs to be in public. So at that point, we'll start now with, and we are going to put you on a timer because we've got to stick to that tonight. So Ethan, if you'll just come up to this stand here, we'll give you 5 minutes, and we'll follow up with some questions.
Okay. First of all, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out to carry this out. I know that it's a very hectic process. If it's any reflection on how I have tried to go through the application process, I can only imagine what it must be like to be on the receiving end of it. So thank you for that. My name is Ethan Woodcox. I am 27 years old. I am living in District 4, just off of Rosecrest and Red Ruby Lane, the Gemstone district. I have been registered to vote in the city of Harriman for as long as I have been able to vote. As a result, I followed most of the legislation pertaining to the city of Harriman for the past decade and have voted in nearly every election cycle since 2016. I feel that I would be a suitable voice for the younger generation in the city that seems to be blooming more and more. I've lived in Harriman for most of my adult life, and I have been satisfied with a majority of the policies that I've seen come through the city of Harriman to better the area and to help maintain the infrastructure, and I would like to be a contribution to that and to continue to see that through. I have been impressed with the efforts made to accommodate the technological growth, more specifically things like the municipal fiber network that was brought to the table about a year and a half ago. Obviously, there is some stipulations on getting that moving forward, but I would like to be able to contribute to those while also preserving the cultural and historical significance that makes Harriman integral to the state and to the county as a whole. Over the last 2 years, I've become well acquainted with Lauren and several members of the panel, and through the Friends of Harriman and the Harriman Work from Home lunches, and I have really enjoyed the camaraderie that's come through that. I would love to see more broad outreach events like this to have our community continue to grow. Political positions can often be intimidating to those who have never formally had a seat, like myself. But I'd like to set a precedent that not only is it something that is possible for those my age, but that their contributions can make a difference. And so as the representative of the 4th District in Harriman, I would strive to personify the welcoming dynamic of the city as it continues to expand the housing in my particular area to welcome our growing population. As some of the district contains homes and citizens that have been here since before the city's incorporation in the 4th District, I want to ensure the existing community is heard while working to provide the city with high standard of living conditions and be able to show the beautiful and empathetic community that we have here. And I guess to just give a little preface of a little more beyond, or like before my adult life, I was born and raised in Riverton, so I've been in the neighboring area for pretty much my entire life, with the exception of serving an LDS mission in Northern California, and then a brief bout of attending the Utah Valley University right before the pandemic. So apart from that, I have been here in Harriman, seeing the community grow. So yeah, that's all I had prepared for me. If we want to move to that point.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Ethan. Questions for Ethan?
One I wrote down that may give us a brief view of what you think good and bad has come out of this council in the past decade or plus. You said you were happy with most of the policies and procedures coming out of this council. What's one area that you see that you didn't approve or didn't like? As even on this board, we always don't agree. So that's something I'd like to see from your
the development more so in the newer communities where we've been able to maintain the construction of newer roads when new neighborhoods are being expanded is the better part. But then there are several areas of the existing infrastructure of Harriman that I feel like could have had better allocated resources to improve it. So for example, since I live off of Rosecrest Road, that's like the most prominent road that I travel in. And I would like to see more things go towards improving the existing roads before we would start repaving roads towards Butterfield Canyon area to work for the housing infrastructure out there. But apart from that, like that's the only major one that has come to mind as a negative.
Awesome. Thank you for your answer.
Mm-hmm.
Remind me what you do for your career, Ethan.
I currently work for a company based out of Utah called 321 Forms. I started as their tech support manager, but I am now their customer process automation. So I am a tech guy, being able to help the consumers better their usage of our software as a service.
If you could bring one thing to Harriman or take one thing away from Harriman, what would it be?
If I were to bring anything, I would definitely want to emphasize that our growing culture is something that we want to be accepting of, and I want to bring that idea, or bring that to the forefront, that especially with the Friends of Harriman, as we have more diverse ethnic groups that come into the city, I want to make sure that there's that welcoming personality. And if I were to take away, or the takeaway that I would take from that would be that I would be able to, that's a bit of a trickier one. I want to give back to the community as much as it's been able to give to me.
Thank you.
This is a good old interview question. What do you think, what qualifications or qualities do you have think set you apart from the other applicants?
You know, in terms of my government experience, I would be doing myself a disservice if I said that it was anything more than nothing. But I definitely want to
If it helps, government service is new to all of us when we decide,
Yeah, exactly.
to do this.
And so the qualifications, I would say, would most likely just be more so of wanting to use the skills that I learned as a manager in my professional career to be able to the greatest things that my higher ups would say about my leadership was that I was very kind and welcoming and was very understanding of people's circumstances. And so I think that more empathetic, not to say that, you know, it's not coming from, or that nobody in this panel is empathetic in that fashion, but more so...
the person who suffers from Asperger's, so I'm very self-aware of that part for me.
So yeah, just a greater I guess public understanding that the people that, regardless of who you reach out to in the city council, they will be very easygoing and very welcoming.
Okay, we appreciate it, Ethan.
Thank you for your
so
time.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, Tara.
Hello. So my name's Tara Anderson. I've been a resident of Harriman for 17 years. I live in the Rosecrest area with my husband and my 4 kids, and we do also have a band concert tonight, so if they leave, it's not because they don't support me. They just have a few other places to be tonight. But it's actually 17 years this month, and so it's been really interesting to see the city of Harriman change over the years and grow, and then also over the years for me to be more involved in the city too, with different city events and city service. So I have a master's of public administration. Right after my graduate degree, I worked for the governor's office of planning and budget for 3 years, and then was home for 15 years. And then I've been back there in that same office for the last 4 years. And that's given me a really interesting, unique perspective on how state government works, how state budgets work. And then in my current role, I do a lot of work with local government associations and regional governments. And so being able to understand that landscape a little bit more, I think, is a unique skill set. I've been really involved in the community. I'm a big believer in the power of communities. I've served on the Planning Commission for over 2 years now. I've had a plot at the community garden for 7 seasons. My kids have been involved in the arts program and in the Harriman Youth Council and attended different city events. I do listen to the podcast every week. But I'm a big believer in planning, long-range planning, strategic planning. That's what I do a lot with my career, to looking ahead and being able to be in the driver's seat. So as change happens, it's not happening to us, but something that we're working with. I appreciate the efforts of the council in doing that with the strategic plan and with the other efforts. I mean, cities are complicated budgets and tax structures and planning and zoning and statute and interacting with regional partners and neighboring cities. And I understand a little bit of that, and I think that's a qualification that I bring, is more of that background and understanding, but also just a love of the community, wanting the community to succeed, wanting to have stronger communities. I see strong communities benefit individuals and benefit families and benefit businesses, and those are important things. So I love what the council has done. I love where our community is. I love the future focus on economic development. As I've been part of the Planning Commission, I've learned a lot. About planning and zoning and the parameters that cities work in. And as I sometimes listen into the city council meetings, they've been really interesting to me. And I think the decisions that come before the city council are things that are interesting and that more people should be involved with and understand and participate in and learn more about. And that's something that I'm interested in too. I feel I have this skill set to contribute, and I care about the community and I want to give back. So I'm open for any questions that you have too, but maybe not some of those hard ones.
Thanks, Tara.
You guys start.
I'll ask one similar to what Teddy asked Ethan. I remember being on the planning commission and making a decision, and then frustrated when the city council maybe didn't agree. Has there been a time where when you saw the planning commission make a choice or a decision, and then the council didn't follow that, and you felt kind of frustrated with that at all?
Well, I do think the Planning Commission and the City Council have different roles and different things that they need to take into account when they make decisions. I do think that, when we were talking about the RV and the policies, right? We were trying to satisfy a whole bunch of different parties and had more of a complicated recommendation, right? And then it was a little too complicated for the City Council. And you went a slightly different way, but still, from when I've talked to council members, they've said we may have not gone with what the Planning Commission recommended, but we appreciate the things that were brought to light that helped to inform our decision. And so Like I said, you have a different lens as a city council person than a planning commissioner. And so that was one thing that's maybe a little different, but also, I mean, there's different roles to play there too.
Perfect.
My question would be, sorry, Sherry. My question would be, whatever happens tonight, if you're appointed or not appointed, are you, because it's such a short appointment, are you in a position where you want to run for council in that open seat?
Well, if I wasn't selected, I don't know that I would run, because I think there's a runway there, and I'd be interested in seeing how the other applicant did, and then maybe consider it in 2 years when the seat comes up for election again. If I was chosen as the city council person, then I would plan on running.
Same question I actually ask our youth this every year. If you could bring something to Harriman or change something about Harriman, what would it be?
Well, I really appreciate the different commercial that's come in. The bus route is already here, so I think that's really important. Always looking for more transit options, and then publicity about those transit options so more people can use it and prove that that's something that's a need in our city. I hope that when Olympia is developed that we can do some fun things with that commercial-wise and bus route-wise, and to be able to take advantage of that little bit denser area, to do something that's maybe a little different and just take advantage of that opportunity as that's developing all at the same time.
Mine might be more on the more difficult line. So my focus is the money. Always. But I've been very clear about that, right?
Do you work in that field?
Well, we can talk about that genesis, right? And I got involved with development and concerns about growth. My profession's in the finance world, and as we've kind of gotten a hand on all of that, and I understand more about how government finances work, it's pretty clear that what we need to do there, in my view, and we're working hard towards those things. But as a budget analyst, and being involved with the Planning Commission for a bit now, and now looking at this seat, hopefully you've taken a look at our budget. What are maybe some of your concerns? What are some of the measures you think we've taken that are on the right path?
Well, I don't know if I can speak to that directly, but I will say that I listened, and what was really interesting to me is one of the recently past meetings with talking about parks and how much parks cost. To be able to weigh that, setting aside land for when there might be more money later, to preserve those opportunities, and then just, it's just hard to understand, I think, unless you're involved with it, how much parks cost. I know that was something that was really surprising to me. One thing I love about our community is that we have parks, and then as we continue to develop, I think it's really important to be able to have walkable parks within that 5 to 10 minute walking radius. But I think with budgets, the more you learn and understand how complicated it is and how expensive it is, there are more things to weigh there. So I would just pivot on your question a little bit and say that I hope that when we have these financial restrictions, that we can be able to preserve opportunities for later, even if we aren't able to act on them now.
We're surprised how much parks cost too, if it's any consolation.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's crazy. Oh, me personally, anyway. I assume we all are
We all are.
surprised about it too, right?
Okay, well, we appreciate it, Tara.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think somebody's going to win bingo tonight.
Lauren Smith,
Hello.
welcome.
I'm Lauren Smith. A little bit about me is I've had the privilege of calling Harriman home since 2016. Like many, I chose Harriman intentionally believing it was a city where families can thrive, where growth can be managed wisely, and where our shared values of responsibility and cooperation are reflected in our city's leadership. Since moving here, I've been committed to preserving those values through active engagement in the community. I've served the Harriman for Responsible Growth organization, advocating for development that's not only economically sound, but aligned with the long-term visions of our residents. I was actively involved in the Mountain Ridge development process, working to ensure that neighborhood concerns were heard and addressed, balancing the need for progress, but also protecting the quality of life in Harriman. Additionally, I've worked closely with the council on the park on Sentinel Ridge Boulevard, helping resolve concern related to developer commitments and addressing ongoing issues of park misuse, vandalism, and impact on the surrounding neighbors. Professionally, I bring over 20 years of experience as a United States probation officer. A career rooted in fairness, accountability, and public service. In that role, I was responsible for working with individuals, families, and communities to promote rehabilitation, safety, and compliance with federal standards. 2002 is when I started. 2022 is when I retired. Currently, the skills I developed in conflict resolution, decision-making, and interagency collaboration will translate directly into a role on the council. I know how to listen and make decisions with the public's best interests in heart. Currently, I'm employed as a background investigator with the Utah Department of Public Safety and the Utah Highway Patrol, where I ensure that those entrusted with public safety meet the highest standards of integrity and professionalism. I also operate a consulting business working with attorneys across the United States who represent clients in federal court. The work keeps me closely connected to the justice system and sharpens my skills of analysis, communication, and strategic planning. Prior to living in Harriman, I served in the Orem City Community Block Grant Committee, helping to direct federal funds to support housing, infrastructure, and local nonprofit organizations. That experience deepened my understanding of the budgeting process, including public input and the importance of aligning resources with real community needs. Harriman is at a pivotal point. As Governor Cox said during the last State of the State address, growth is inevitable. That's true. Though growth is inevitable, the character of our city is not. That's something we shape together with every decision we make. I would bring experience, dedication, a history of collaboration to the council, and I look forward to the opportunity of serving our community. I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
I'll go first. Okay, first of all, you said you moved here because you thought it would be a great place to raise a family and live. Do you still feel that way, yes or no? And then the second question is you listed some pretty, it sounds like busy career
Sherry,
choices.
Sorry, you've got a spider. I'm not even.
Is it a spider or is it a tick?
Sorry.
No. Time out.
Sorry.
Sorry, I just couldn't. I was gonna let it crawl under.
Gotta talk to
In my
someone about
hair,
the pest
in my
control
spider
budget.
nest.
Yeah.
I literally been herding cows all
Yeah,
day,
she's
so I
herding
have
cows.
ticks on me for sure. I'm like, is it a
Lauren
tick?
moves away.
Sorry. Distraction.
Sorry,
Anyway, so do you still feel that way? If so or not? And then you listed, a pretty robust career, it sounds like. And so do you have the bandwidth to serve it right now? Because this is more than just a couple of meetings a month. We all serve in different capacities and different committees and boards, assignments, and things like that. So there's much more than just 2 meetings a month. So do you have the capacity to serve in that? And do you have the bandwidth to serve in that capacity?
Answer to your questions are yes. I do think Harriman still is and continues to be, but we could lose that if we're not careful in the decisions that are made in the future. Budgeting, ability to impact quality of life, public safety, those types of things, I think are always in the balance if you're not making positive decisions with the community. One of the things that I've found to be refreshing is when I first moved into Harriman, things weren't really running that smooth. There are some issues on the council, there are some issues with the mayor, there are some issues with communities around us, and I've been really impressed with the ability of the council since then to put that in the past and to really rebuild the reputation of Harriman. It was hurting. Sorry, it was. But now it's respected. The leadership's respected. Each one of you are respected. And there's credit to be had for that. And I think that critical moment, you really did make a change that took us from a direction where it may not have been good for the community, may not have been good for families. But I think we're on the right course now. There's always going to be decisions come up. That correction, that attention to that detail is something that's always got to be paid attention to. My capacity. Yeah, I'm busy. But the beautiful part about being retired is I'm who I respond to, right? So I get to make my own schedule. I work for the Utah Highway Patrol, but they don't tell me when to work. I get to do that. I get to work as much or as little as I'd like. My own business, yeah, it ebbs and flows, and it depends. Sometimes everything's on fire, then nothing's on fire. And so like today, well, over the last 2 days, like yesterday I spent 16 hours working. Today I'm working on about 11. That's really unusual. I travel, like I was up at the Weber County Jail for 3.5 hours today. That was not the highlight of my day. But yeah, I have the capacity to do it. I guess working in federal law enforcement with the federal courts, you kind of learn to manage that. There was really very few slow days. And so, yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
My question pertains to your interactions with Harriman for responsibility for growth, and then your Mountain Ridge development and Sentinel Park. I know you were in those meetings quite a bit. Through those meetings, I know there's some frustration of what you want, how you want it, and then what's actually provided either by the developer and or council in some situations. How did those interactions take place? What was the I know there was some heated temperature sometimes. How did you handle that personally? Because we have very similar moments at this dais.
It was an opportunity for growth, personally. The very first interaction I had was with Dan McKay, who I consider a friend today, though we disagree on quite a bit. The interaction I had with him on that day was not as positive. I appreciate my ability to grow and my need to do so. And so it was frustrating, particularly because the original plan for Mountain Ridge was right in my backyard was going to be these giant townhomes. There was a lot of amenities, but the development and how they had it aligned was really not taking into consideration the existing neighbors. I do appreciate Edge in that capacity, in that they did listen to some. I do think they sold us on a few things and then came back to the council, and maybe we weren't paying attention enough. And some things changed in that development that, you know, like the park. I remember specifically asking if that park was going to be a retention-detention basin. The answer was no, it was not. It sure looks like one. So I'm frustrated with that. I also understand the need for a place for water to go. Every time you put concrete down, you got to have a place to put that amount of water somewhere so it doesn't, you know, make bad neighbors with Bluffdale and Riverton and those things. I understand that, and I understand that, but you know, I would have preferred it not be. So I think what I got from that is my capacity to change my opinion, to grow, and to communicate more effectively. What was the rest of your question?
No, you answered most of that. One quick follow-up question. You've had interactions with our former council member several times about these situations. How does his communication, how did you appreciate his communication? How would you do it different? How would you take that role as a council member in communicating with those issues or similar issues?
You're talking about Steve?
Yeah.
Steve and I are really good friends. I appreciate him and his wife, Lindsay. I hate that they're leaving. He is louder than I am, and it's just his personality and his voice. One of my strengths that I bring from my career is the ability to create relationships very fast. You have to do that because it saves your life, and it also helps to make good decisions for other people. And so I think that's something that I bring, is the ability to make connections really quickly, to establish relationships, even friendships very quick. So I think that is one of the strengths I bring. I also appreciate being counsel people that are seen. And I know there's things about schedules and family and kids and end-of-year concerts and those types of things. But I will be more seen. If I was to take this position, I would be at things. And one of the things, capacity, I have the capacity to do that, because generally, I know I close my door at a certain time, and then it's my life after that, and this would be that after time. I'm very interested in the progress of the city. It has grown so fast, just since I was here, just the numbers of people. I had an opportunity to teach while I teach at the Salt Lake Academy, and the diversity was fantastic. The amenity, and I got a better understanding of the amenities there. I got to see a cross-section of the city that I was unfortunately blind to, and you know, this is a great city with a lot of potential. It really is a city that could continue to be a leader, particularly across the Wasatch Front, as other communities start to face some of the same growth that we've done. I mean, we were, what, the fastest growing city for a period of time? Well, heaven help any other city that has to deal with that. But I think we could also be a resource and a good example. And I've just been impressed by the recovery in such a really short period of time.
Perfect, thank you.
In your answer to one part of Sherry's question, you made the comment that if we're not careful in our budgeting decisions, and I wasn't quick enough to write down the words in between, and then how it can affect this being a place for families. I'm curious what budgeting decisions in particular you're referring to, and what your plans would be, what those are, and how you would plan to address it.
And lacking the financial background. I may have used the wrong term, budgeting, as a part, rather than funding and taxes and things, you know, whatever word that is.
It's the same.
Okay. There we go. And then, but what I'm concerned about is, are we able to keep up with the quality of life that we have in Harriman? And part of that is controlling the cost of living here. So is the money that we're bringing in commensurate with the money that we need to spend? And if it's not, how do we get there? I'm actually really a big fan of the sports complex idea. I think the concept has merit. If we can find a way for it to legitimately generate the income that we need. It's those types of cities have, from my little limited experience, have relied on taxes and fees. Well, what else can we do? What else can we bring in? Rather than raising the fee for this or raising the property tax for this, what can we bring into the city that is going to bring money that is not taxing the residents? I don't mind charging sales tax and tax to people that are coming to visit. I think that's great. I think our trails, our bike trails, our sports complex, Harriman, the Salt Lake Academy, all those things have just been fantastic ways of alternatively getting funding into the community, rather than relying on what the fees of builders and things like that, which was really hurting the city. And quite frankly, I think maybe it didn't show, but there was a little bit of panic that, you know, when we finish building, where are those impact fees? How are we going to make up for that? And so I think creatively, and I don't try to sound like I'm sucking up, but there's been some really creative solutions to that. And I think this sports complex, with the little bit I know about it, is one of those creative ideas which brings a lot of value to the city, but not necessarily at the amount of cost to the city if the city was to bring it on by itself. But to find a partner to help develop that, I think is a great idea. Does that answer your question?
There's no right or wrong answers.
Well, and one of my, if you want to ask, one of my things is I lack a poker face, and sometimes I just need to be quiet. And that was probably one of those moments.
Not at all.
Okay,
Feel like a band.
I appreciate it.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Steve, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me here. So I'm Steve Perry. A little bit about me is I joined the Air Force right out of high school. Just a young kid, didn't know what I was getting into. Went right into law enforcement. Did law enforcement and security for 12 years. I thought it'd be a good idea to start making more money. And so I started flipping houses, and I ended up getting my real estate license, and I've been a real estate broker for 25 years. So I'm currently the CEO for Keller Williams South Valley, which is in Daybreak, our office is. So a little bit more about me. I was the first mayor of Kearns. I was on the community council, and then working with the county, we kept getting all the land annexed away from us, and soon we were going to disappear. So we said, how do we get this to stop? And Mayor McAdams said the only way you can do it is to become a city, become a township. And so we did. We voted on it, and we became a township, and I was elected the first mayor. And so I have a good understanding of how a city of 36,000 bedroom community works. The reason why I'm here is because I'm excited for an opportunity to see how to work with a city of over 60,000 people. That's not just about property tax and bedroom community. You actually have businesses here that somebody hasn't stolen away, so the other type of taxes that actually comes in. I'm also a big fan of serving on committees. I love serving on the different committees as the mayor. I was elected to be the chairman of the Greater Salt Lake Municipal Services District, which just means they put me over this other council that maintained the budget for 5 other townships that were created at the time. I enjoyed that. I enjoy giving back. I enjoy service. I've been doing service all my life, from coaching, reffing, my kids. My legacy is that, excuse me, that would be my 6 kids and 9 grandkids. So we're here locally. We built our dream home in Harriman, and it's where we plan on living forever. So that's why I'm here.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Steve. Questions for Steve?
What was your biggest lesson or growth experience at your role in Kearns?
So the biggest lesson was to utilize the Olympic Oval, which was our big jewel that we had there, and to be able to work with all kinds of different outside agencies to bring in events and things like this to build a revenue base that way. Otherwise, it was just property tax mainly that we're able to fund our budget. So it's important to be able to have commercial-based tax. Absolutely.
Yeah, we would go bankrupt if all we have was property taxes. We would be in trouble.
I understand that.
Maybe not bankrupt, but we would be in serious trouble. I don't know if it's appropriate to ask, but how long have you lived in Harriman? And again, what brought you to Harriman, and how would you help make sure that that stays the projection of Harriman? How can you help ensure that what brought you here and the appeal to coming to Harriman stays in Harriman? What kind of decisions would you make, or what kind of path do you think we need to be on to keep those that
Absolutely.
vision?
It's a good question. So we've only been here 4 years. We were in Kearns for 25 years. We met in Idaho, me and my wife. We grew up in Idaho. Moved down here for work. I worked for the DOE out in the Arco nuclear desert, doing security and law enforcement duties. And when the Cold War ended, that's what brought us down here. We like Harriman, and I'm kicking myself for not buying a 5-acre lot when there were so many available, 10, 15 years ago. And I was out here, and I was like, I should invest in some of these 5-acre lots, and then I never did. And so I was like, oh man, look how much it's grown, right? So, but we live on Juniper Crest, off Juniper Crest Road on Billings Drive, and we have the best view, the whole East Mountains from our backyard, overlooking the Real Stadium and all that kind of stuff from where we live. To ensure that it stays beautiful the way it is, I would like to bring my experience of working with developers and builders and things so that the city doesn't get stuck with half of a road that's not landscaped, right? That's our biggest thing. And so otherwise, I love the trails, we love the parks, we just love being out here. And I know there's a lot of future growth plans, so I've never seen the master plan. That would be something that I would love to see and then give input on.
Steve, I'll ask, you mentioned your new job, right? And when we visited earlier. Now that you're in that role, do you feel like you have the capacity with your new role to fill,
I do. All my kids are adults, and all our spare time is with the grandkids, and they love grandma more than grandpa. So I definitely have the time, and I look forward to serving on committees. Not mosquito abatement necessarily, right? Something more exciting than that. Yeah, I know.
Comes with this district.
it comes with it?
It does come with this district. Are you just assigning that, Jared?
No, that actually was
Second.
one of Steve's committees.
Well, that's fine.
I love it.
You learn a lot. It's a great committee.
Steve learned a lot about mosquitoes. I loved his reports.
I'm just looking forward to not having to, if I get this position, not having to have another position on the county, inside the county, right? So that really spreads you thin, because then they just want you for everything, so.
Don't I know it? So I obviously purposely did not prepare any questions, read through all of your responses and resumes, et cetera, but I always try to, and I deliberately tried to make them go first so I can listen and craft my questions from the conversation going on. A common thread from anyone who steps up here, right, or anyone that throws their hat in the ring to run, is that we all have a common desire to serve, to be involved in the community. We care about where we live, all of those sorts of things. So throughout this process, I'm looking for you who brings something more, right? That's kind of the commonality. So I asked the question, what do you think makes you different? If you've said you have specific skills or goals, what are those? So along those same lines, and it's financial again. But a lot of people don't, and I didn't know before I got involved in this. I had no idea what I'm looking for it again, the municipal service district is. Didn't even know what service districts were. I've worked really hard to get us out of it, as many of those as I possibly can. So my question is, having having had experience doing some of these things, being the chairman of that board specifically, maybe what are some of the do's and don'ts from a financial point of view, right? Because so service district, you're in charge of collecting the taxes, right? And then property taxes, and then paying for said services for those member entities, right?
Right.
So maybe give us some do's and don'ts that you learned there, and coming into this role, how you would apply that.
Okay, so that's not an easy question. I'll admit that. The
Well, I have
one
to be
thing,
fair, I don't think I gave an easy one to anybody.
yeah, the one thing that was interesting about serving in all the roles is I had an attorney sitting next to me that I could then turn to and get advice from. Right there, Todd, yeah, city attorney, and so I would be asking Todd a lot of questions on certain things, but. So we oversaw the budget for Immigration Canyon, for Copperton, for Magna, for Kearns, for White City. Those are all the new townships that were formed. And we turned them down for some things, and they didn't like that. And that would be for certain expenditures that just didn't make sense. It made sense to them, but as a whole committee, we would discuss and let them, bring, and kind of tell us what you need and why, right? And so we would at least hear what's going on and why they need it. And a lot of it may have been due to water districts. White City was always about their water district and things like that. And if it went outside their lane or their budget that was proposed to us, we didn't allow stuff like that to happen. I'm pretty black and white. I don't play in gray areas. And so if you can, you have to present a case for something that's outside what's already in your plan, right? For it to be changed differently. And believe me, I think we met every 2 weeks. They tried.
Thank you.
One thing I will say that I think is very much an important part of being in the city is maintaining the infrastructure, especially the pipes that are underground. And Kearns is an old community, and so we found ways to repair the pipes without having to dig up the roads and things like that. And you have to have this kind of innovative thinking on how you can save money to get the same job done. So I think that's a good thing to be looking for. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you, Steve. Okay, well, that brings us to the conclusion of our interview process. I will say, I should have let out with this at first. Thank you, all four of you, for being willing to be here, to put your name almost on a ballot. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. It's scary. I know it's
Not easy to stand up there.
and it's not easy. This is, you get questions that you're not prepared for. Thank you for, truly, thank you for being willing to do this, all four of you. I will say before we even take a vote, I think this community would be well served by any of you. I really believe that. Not an easy decision. I think most cities would be envious to have four candidates like the four of you that would be willing to step forward. And hopefully, no matter how this goes, you stay involved. And I would encourage you all to run, regardless of whether you're chosen tonight. I know situations might be different or whatnot, but I encourage you all to stay, whether it be now or down the road, to stay involved, because I think you would all serve this community well, regardless of the direction we go. So. Oh, Sherry wants me to remind you the filing date is coming up, June 2nd through 6th. So.
Also, for anyone that might be watching and unaware, filing, everyone,
Seat
no matter.
3, seat 4, Mayor, seat
Yep.
2.
My seat's up, Teddy's up, Sherry's is up. And I will say, we talked about this last night, but just as a reminder, this is an appointment through the end of the year, basically through January 5th. Then if you do decide to run regardless, you will declare that early June, and that will be a 2-year term. That will be for a special election in November. That will be a 2-year term to finish out Councilmember Schild's term, because he was not quite halfway through his second term. and then you would be running again in 2 years if you so desired, and then to be back on, because there's two of us, Jared's seat and Steve's seat are on one cycle, and these two seats are on a different. That way we have continuity no matter what. So we need to stay on that. So that's the way we're going with this. So tonight will be for a temporary appointment, and then I like it that the voters are going to be able to choose rather than the 4-member appointment for this year. So I like the direction we're going. So at this point, I think we're going to vote. Unless anybody has any opposition, I think we're going to vote, just so everybody can see. Just so you see what this is, just a piece of paper, just for your names on this. The way this will work is it's one round, basically. I'm not going to take it down to, down to 2 or anything. This will be one vote. If there is a tie, it is a coin flip. But the majority, so if 3 of you, it has to be majority though. So if it's, I don't know, we're going to see where the votes go, and then we know the statute. There's all sorts of scenarios, but basically, at this point, if 3 of you receive one of the votes tonight, then I think we'll even swear in tonight. Is that the plan? So anyways, so I think we're just going to vote unless anybody has any opposition to that. We good with that, Jackie, Nathan, Todd, we good? Okay, so at this point, it's a silent vote, so we're just going to vote and hand it to Chief.
How are you tonight? Good, how are you? Thank you.
Then the votes will go to Jackie as our recorder, and I'll let her just announce the results.
Okay, so the ballots I mixed them up, so they're not in any specific order. We have 1 vote for Tara Anderson. Second vote for Tara Anderson. Vote for Steve Perry. And a 3rd vote for Tara Anderson.
Wow, with that, congratulations, Tara Anderson, on becoming our newest council member. Gentlemen, truly, I hope you stay involved. I believe you all would have served this community very, very well. Steve, I don't know you as well, but I consider the other 2 of you friends and colleagues as well. Truly appreciate your desire to serve. Not an easy decision. This was not an easy decision. You all bring a lot to the table. So thank you for being willing to serve, and we'll say congratulations to Tara. So thank you all for being here. Yes, please.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, we do have to, so we have to make this an official motion, actually, then.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R29-2025, appointing Tara Anderson to fill the midterm vacancy for the Harriman City Council District 4 office.
Okay, motion by Teddy, second by Jared. Jared?
Yes.
Teddy?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes,
And I'll vote yes as well.
a comment?
With a comment? You
Yeah.
want- Yes?
I just wanted to say the same. I just hope that you will all run for office. There's just something very important, I believe, in our community to have people involved in the process. Win, lose, or anything, just the ability to throw your hat in and let people know you and make a decision as a populace rather than just the 4 of us is so important. And I love that you're 27 and you're involved. There's nothing, win, lose, or draw, just being involved makes you a winner. It's really important to participate in the process. So I hope that you will all consider running for office. It's just, I hate seeing our ballots with 1 person on them, or those types of things. It's just so important. Your local government has so much control over your daily life. It's just so important that people take it serious and be part of the process. So I just hope that you will all continue in the process, like the mayor had said.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you, everybody, for being a part of this process tonight. I will now move on to an oath of office ceremony. Jackie will conduct that with Tara.
We're sorry your band kids had to leave.
Let's do a motion to adjourn real fast, and we'll go shake hands. So moved. Can I get,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.